telling people that they must assume that the other party is as smart as they are. Because some people, especially in this industry, have the tendency of thinking maybe that they're very smart. And again, sometimes they are very smart, but sometimes they do not give the other parties the benefit of doubt that the other party is smart as well.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to my show. My name is Tiffany Alexander, and this is Unveiling Journeys. I want to tell you just a brief second about myself. I love people. I love the power of networking. I love hearing people's stories. I love the cool people of like the circle of influence that people have. And I love whenever I ask people, like, hey, who do you know that I need to know? Because I've just shared so many cool things. But also, by the way, I have people that you need to know too. And that's exactly how I met our guest today. And then when we got to hang out, I was like, no way, you're doing what? I need to tell people about you. So, with that, I am so excited. I'm going to bring my guest on. Welcome, Ofer. Tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're up to right now.
Hi. First, thanks for having me on your show. My name is Ofer Shapira, and I'm the founder and CEO of Soteria Market, which is a secondary marketplace for private credit and distressed assets. Well, it sounds very professional, so I'll explain what it is. You go to a bank, you take a loan from the bank. Let's say it's $100 loan, and then you need to repay the debt in a year time with 5% interest, which means that the bank needs to wait a year and then get $105 from you, right? So now the bank holds a note, which is a note which carries the right to get $105 from you next year. Now, if the bank wants the money now, he needs to find someone else to buy the note from you. These transactions are done every day by all of the banks. They are trading notes. They are trading the right to charge you with that amount of money in a certain amount of time. So those trades of notes between banks and financial institutions, this is what we do. We have a platform which we could call it a dating site for private credit, which means it's a place that if you want to buy those notes, and you have the business of buying those notes, it's a B2B platform. So if you have the business of buying those notes and you have no way to get those notes, you can get on the platform and the platform will match you with those notes that you are more likely to
Oh
pursue
my
and buy
gosh.
them.
I love the way you just described this. You described it so well, so quickly. It's is it more like a speed dating or blind dating?
Yeah, it's not a speed dating. You know what? It's there are some similarities with dating. I mean, I think the first question every investor asks is is saying that the transaction of buying notes seem to be very, very complicated. And then you should say, yeah, but dating is much more complicated, right? The transaction between people when they meet in order to live together, this is far more complicated, right? So we don't pretend that we take you the whole way. We just um, ignite the spark to make
Ooh,
sure that you're not wasting your time with people that you are unlikely pursue the process with them. So if I need to get into the details, the market is very, very fragmented in
mm,
terms of different people want different things, different kind of transactions. Like you could say, I'm interested in buying those notes that you mentioned before, but I want those notes that are related to real estate. So there's no point of showing you deals that are related to healthcare or industrial companies because you're unlikely pursue those deals. So the platform learns your preferences, understands better what exactly you're looking for, and with the more you use it, the more experienced the platform is with you. So in some way or another, it's like your music app. If you like something, you'll get more of that. If you don't like something, you won't get any of them. And if you provide the right feedback, just tell what you think. It's too big, it's too small, it's too far, it's too green, whatever. Then the platform learns your preferences. It gets your it hears your language. Whatever you say, it learns your preferences to offer you next time a better deal. So, like your music app, after a while that you use it and you express your impressions, you'll get a very good playlist of things, actually deals that you would wish that you could close.
My gosh, I love this so much.
Thanks.
Quite honestly, I don't think that there's anything else at all like this right now. Because I think of myself shopping for this inventory that I'm always in search of. And really, quite honestly, people in the note space, in the real estate note space where I am, there's, like, next to nothing, and so we're having to trust connections and reach out to them, and if there's a place for it to be housed, it at first I was like, "Oh, I feel like an Amazon." Oh, wait, it's not Amazon because 'cause you're letting both sides come on. You're the middle guy, so Amazon's housing everything. It's not like an eBay, it's not like a Craigslist because that's sketch, right? This is, like, all amazingness that you've brought in with the ability for us to go in and check out this stuff, and even the added ability to have it cater more towards you, this is phenomenal. So that way it's gonna just show you relevant things according to your style. This is this is phenomenal. I can't believe I had to get introduced to you and I didn't even know this was a thing. This is why you're on the show because I want people in my space to understand that
Thanks.
there is
There's more if
someone.
you want to hear, but I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
there's someone that's doing this and I get excited about because this is my space, but you have it deeper and wider than even what I do, which I like too because this isn't just for real estate.
Right. Right. Actually, it's very broad. It could it, you banks or lenders in general or asset managers could trade any illiquid assets on them. We are focusing on debt and illiquid assets. Some lenders would trade performing notes. Others would trade non-performing notes. Others would pay REOs, which is real estate that is owned by the lender. Um, and yes, those loans could be secured, could be unsecured, could be first lien, second lien, whatever.
My goodness, I love it so much. Alright, let's do
Yeah.
this. 'Cause this is Unveiling Journeys. I wanna tell your story, from the beginning on how we can circle back around to kind of you being here right now. So tell everybody, like, where are you from and, like, what did you wanna be when you were growing up and what that led to.
Going backwards. Okay. So, how backwards would you like me to go? Okay,
Well, I mean, you have a great
I
accent,
start,
so start there.
okay, so I was born and raised in Israel, in Tel Aviv. I've been working as a bankruptcy attorney, mostly working with banks and financial institutions in dealing with their distressed debts and problematic borrowers, uh, which means, in other words, primarily taking over distressed businesses, running them for a while, and then selling the business or the assets. And the purpose was actually to get the value to the lender. So I've been doing that forever. I've been doing that more than 2 decades, and I cannot even say one bad word about that because I was doing well, and I must say that I enjoyed the work. Sometimes it feels like you cannot believe that you are being paid for things that you actually like doing. There's a lot of work of restructuring. There's a lot of creativity in this work. I've been working in many uh, with many companies, which means in many industries and also many locations. So um, uh, a big portion of that was raised like as debt was raised in Israel, but most of the or many of those companies worked in many locations, obviously North America, Western Europe, and Middle East. But we had companies that worked in Latin America, in Africa, in Eastern Europe, in the Far East. We even had a company in Myanmar once when it was still safe to get there. So I've been working in many places around the globe and in many industries. Um, the purpose it was always the same: bring us the money. The vendor, because I could tell you many stories, but the customer, the bank, the truth is that he doesn't care about all these stories. They just care about, I would say, three questions. First, how much money can you bring me back from this storytelling? Second, how much time it takes you to bring the money? And three, how much this process costs. So these three very simple questions are the focus of whatever you do every day. You need to work to get the most as you could extract from the situation. You need to do it as fast as you can, and you need to do it in the most efficient way possible. So this was this has been the purpose. This is what I've been doing forever, just to connect it to what I'm doing today. Few years ago, I started Soteria Market, and actually, the idea was that if you don't care about the stories, okay, let's create the technology that could replace people like myself, in the sense of bringing you the value without the stories. So you can take the debt, and you could find the other entity that would buy the debt in a value that would be better for you than doing the whole what is called workout. By the way, there are a lot of very, very nice words to this cemetery of companies, and one of them is like special assets. You shouldn't feel special when you are getting that title. The special is that if you don't watch carefully, you could be gone soon. So so in that special assets um, sector, the what we offer today is a much better, faster, and more efficient solution to get the value fast and efficient.
Man, that's incredible. I'm gonna ask you because you went so delicately over what you did. You know you were always gonna be this like paperwork driven, analytical, turn into bankruptcy attorney. Like, what did you want to actually be when you were a kid?
Um, I don't really remember. I think
No.
most kids would like to be cops or firemen,
Yeah.
firefighters. Yeah, I don't think someone wants to be whatever, work in financial markets. Kids just don't know that profession, right?
Yeah,
But
that's
I
true.
think that being, I would say, a transactional lawyer was a very natural um, way that I went. I didn't need to work hard to connect to that part of
Yeah.
the. And also, um, I must say that I did plan to go to like work with bankrupt companies, like do the restructuring, but because I always felt very, very attracted to managing business rather than managing disputes. So even when I studied and started working, I was thinking about that business side that was always much more interesting. Not that litigation is not interesting, but the creativity in running a business or restructuring, or obviously building a startup, this is really, really interesting and fun. But in terms of the legal work, I think that if I weren't a bankruptcy attorney, I wouldn't be a lawyer. I wouldn't go into that profession at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that you understand the side of it. You're like, "Oh, I don't want to litigate. I want to see like the creative genius side of this that you can see blossom from the other angle of it," which is actually why I love what you've invented so much because the reason why I like buying bad debt is because the endless opportunities for me to be now the inventor of restructuring it for them. Because it's like, I'm not buying actually bad debt to go and like, give me your house now, right? I want to be like, wow, what happened? Like, let's redo. But someone's willing to buy it or sell it at a lower cost because they've already written it off on their portfolio. It's like, we're a kid in a candy store, like, let's invent up something new. So I agree with you. It's not like I'm taking advantage of people. I actually swing in to be their superhero to be able to do that. And I like that you have this platform to be able to do it with them and for everyone.
Yeah, I must say that in the work of a bankruptcy attorney, you need to work in both sides. You cannot be so nice the entire day. I mean,
True.
we're not trying to create that picture here because it's not true. Everybody knows that bankruptcy lawyers are the toughest creatures in the jungle. So yeah, we're not trying to pretend that that was something else. However, there are actually two parts of that. The first part is that is it's part of the nature. It's part of that jungle. Bankruptcy means that the borrower doesn't have enough money to pay everyone. So by definition, there's a war, there's a fight between the different creditor. By definition, even if you want to be that administrator or trustee or whatever you do, there's always a fight either in front of you or behind your back because someone wants to get more than what he deserves. So the war is there. If people were asking me how do I feel, I would say that it felt like being a warrior in Rome. You wake up in the morning, you wear your shield, and then you start fighting with everyone everywhere
Yeah.
from all directions. However, with that said, there's something that you don't always see in this is the restructuring part. I think that there's so much of professional satisfaction that you get something that is really, really broken. And with applying those rules and just behavior and talking to people and working with them, you manage to make it something valuable. And
Yeah.
this turnaround is something that is really it's not only beneficial for the professional, it's beneficial for everyone, and especially those that are like the objects or the subjects of the matter.
That's
I used
amazing.
to say when we got into those big facilities with many people, you know, in the first day, everybody's tensed and thinking about, yeah, they're all probably is going to fire me now. I'm going to be unemployed and so forth. I usually, that was my sentence. I usually, and that was my intention. And I usually presented that hopefully if we do everything right, the only person that will go home in the end of if in the end is only me, and the whole business could be saved. So obviously, not always you keep everyone. Not always not every day is a fun day. But in the end, the process itself, like you said, with the notes, you could do it in a very nasty way, but you could do it in a very good professional way, and yeah, and it's fun.
That's incredible. What from being, this side of the business and running all this led your decision making to say, "You know what? I wanna create this platform." What happened for you to say, "You know what? I need to make this."
Um, well, it's a it's a process, but I think it's the concept that not always the customer in that old profession, not always the customer doesn't know how to evaluate your work necessarily, and the fact that the customer doesn't is not able to evaluate your work is not a problem of that customer or yourself as a professional. It is built in the profession. You're a banker, you retain an administrator, someone to run a business. You are not going to leave your work as a banker and the things you understand most, which is banking, in order to understand what's the business is there about. So I could run a business of infrastructure of cellular networks all over the world. Okay, that was, it's just a sample, but it's a true example of a business that I was running. It was run in the beginning. We had like 40 subsidiaries in different countries. The bankers that were owed the money, they do not understand. I mean, they do understand the industry as bankers, but they cannot get into the small details. They cannot get into the everyday work or where exactly are the problems and how you solve these problems. So in the end, you could work very hard in solving all kinds of very, very sophisticated issues, but nobody knows about that. Nobody could even evaluate the work and say, okay, with another professional, it would end differently. This is one thing. The second thing is that even though I enjoyed everything that is connected to that, and I've been doing well, I think that the legal process becomes very, very expensive in compared to the use that you're doing with that legal service from all of the parties together. So, like, to give you an example, there was a bankruptcy case running here in the bankruptcy court of the Southern District of New York. I think it started a few days before the September 1st, no matter what year, and by I think it was January that they announced that they ran out of money. The debtor ran out of money. The process cost more than $6 million in like 6 months, less than 6 months. Okay, so this is a very like big amount of money. And if you check that, and I invite you to check that, you'll see that the cost of legal proceedings, especially in the US, has been growing constantly and exponentially, and there's no force that could stop that. And obviously, all the parties that are involved in some way or another enjoy that. I think that yeah, it used to be said that you need to be wealthy to get into a Chapter 11 process in the US because it costs a fortune. But beyond the joke, the legal process becomes very, very lengthy and expensive, and with all due respect, it's very, very inefficient. You don't need to have like a very special way of thinking to say, yeah, I could improve something here. It's not something, it's everything. It's unbelievable. You cannot, if you would show that to a 10-year-old boy and ask him, what's wrong with that? It was like, who would pay that amount of money to a bunch of people that are just arguing with each other? With the time, part of what they are eating could feed many of the mouths that actually needed that money.
Right,
So
right.
I'm not saying that in order to criticize the system, because unfortunately this is the only way to get things through in the end. But whoever can get away from that should get away from that. Should just trade your position beforehand and go.
Yeah, let someone else maybe absorb it in their portfolio, and that's what they need the write off maybe. Like, there's so many different scenarios of the story that make so much sense to do this. This actually
But
leads me to a really good question I wanna ask you. Did you
yeah,
wanna say something real quick?
yeah, I wanted to add another component here, which is that there are creditors in the market, especially banks, that their business is around uh, owning those debts, like as fixed assets. I lend you money, you repay me the debt, and I know how to manage those loans. This is my business of managing loans. But I mean, the great majority of bankruptcy, of Chapter 11 cases in the US, end with the conversion of debt to equity. So it makes sense in the economics that the owner could not repay. Like, he gives the keys to the lenders, to the creditors. However, if you are like a professional lender and your work is holding those notes as your business, you are not um, programmed, you are not planned, it's not your business to now run the equity of some other companies. And that creates another situation that if you're a bank and you're dragged into a bankruptcy situation, yeah, there are all kinds of ways out, or ways to live with that. But in general, it's not for you. You should just try to get out of that before
Right?
you even getting close to that.
Oh, it's incredible. I love you have so much good advice for all this. We could probably talk for hours. Tell me this thing that you do, this platform, this the time that you pour into it and you keep perfecting it and making it better and more accessible and being able to get more people on it. Why why do you care so much to just keep trying hard to make it happen? Like why do you keep showing up for it?
Whoa, that's a philosophical question. Maybe, I don't know. When you create something, then you want to make it to work in the best way possible. And in this specific case of this specific startup, what we're doing is we are facilitating processes that I've seen gazillions of them. I know how they work. I know how people think, and I'm amazed how many shortcuts we could offer and make things go smoother, make things go in a more efficient way, but in the right way. So you even when you make decisions, you could make decisions by data. I could tell you many stories, but you know that when you deal with people, sometimes you cannot avoid that. Sometimes the representing or working for a few banks uh, could be a very uh, intensive, like professional thing, but it could feel in some moments as if you are a teacher in a kindergarten. Like, he told
Yeah.
me, yeah,
Yeah.
no, he didn't sign. I want him to do
Humans.
that first. I go, hey, what's going
Yeah.
on here? Yes, sometimes you could feel like in a kindergarten, because in the end, people are people, and sometimes they cannot um, get away from their feeling and gut feelings, that sometimes they are very, very good and correct, and sometimes they are very, very bad and incorrect. And just to give the very basic, uh, it is part of the nature that if you made, or if you originated the credit, sometimes you are more optimistic about your ability to collect that credit more than an objective person would see that credit to be collected. So
Percent.
that's why
Yeah.
in big banks, there's a special assets department, and there's another person that could objectively judge and see whether it makes sense to work on that, or it should be gone, or dissolved, or whatever. So this is just as an example, because sometimes as a creditor, as a lender that originated the note, you could say or even think that you hold the jewels of the crown, but it's not, but it's garbage. And you need to know that. When you go on the platform like Soteria Market, you get the data, you get the facts. We're not pretending. We're not telling you stories. We just give you the data. We provide you the data in the fastest way possible. So you could continue thinking that you hold the jewels of the crown, but just look at the facts, and it could be that you better just listen to the wisdom of the crowd, and they know better.
Nice. Man, that's a really valid point. I love that. You are speaking so much truth in this. I appreciate that I just love that you've invented this so much. I can't wait to tell a bunch of people about it. But at this point, people are like, yeah, Soteria Market, but also, where can I find you? I want to talk to you about this and I want to be involved in that. Where's the best place that people can come find you?
Well, probably the best way is either LinkedIn or the platform itself, which is soteriamarket.com. There's a way to get to the network by just filling in your name and your whether you're a buyer or a seller or another person, and we'll get back to you. LinkedIn is a good way as well. Yeah, just
Perfect. That's awesome. All right, here's what I want to do.
yep.
I want to ask you about the lasting piece or tidbit of advice that you want to leave with everybody. And that's going to be my last question I ask you for the show.
Oh, um, well, this is maybe one of the things I needed to think more, and I don't have time to think about that. So I'll say something that I found myself saying too many times this week. Probably I'm going to repeat that more, uh, which was telling people that they must assume that the other party is as smart as they are, because some people, especially in this industry, have the tendency of thinking maybe they are that they're very smart. And again, sometimes they are very smart, but sometimes they do not give the other parties the benefit of doubt that the other party is smart as well.
Mm.
And I think that in any business, but especially in this business, you need to assume that the other parties are smart enough to understand what is going on. We are trying to improve the access to data as much as possible. So when you get to those deals, you could negotiate. You could be very very creative. You could be very smart and get great deals. You cannot assume that the other party would know about the facts because we are setting the facts and putting them up front. So yeah,
Ooh,
so
that's
that
nice.
piece
Man,
of
this
it.
has been really fun. I appreciate your time. And at this point, if you guys are like still hanging out with us, you watched the whole episode. I'm so grateful you stayed here. And thank you, Offer, for your time. You deciding to come on the show so that I could tell people about it. I'm so grateful. And that's it, guys. We're going to end our show, and I look forward to seeing you on the very next one. And you guys go have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.